Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury and Bulldog Nation, Trump held a rally in Arizona. I think it was actually Florence, Arizona. And the crowd came out, throngs and throngs of people. And that is, in this day and age, truly amazing. In politics, to draw a crowd is extremely difficult. The only folks that can draw a crowd are professional sports teams, college teams, high school teams. But to be able to draw a crowd like that is truly amazing. And folks, it's the reason why they hate him. And you know what is really interesting to me is how the left, the American Communist 10, no one ever admits that they hate him because he has such a following. It is truly, it's jealousy. I get both parties' political bullshit by email. These Democrats and Republicans who both run for office, I'm on their email lists. And I don't unsubscribe because I want to see what they have to say. And it's hysterical. On one hand, while they're bashing Trump, every single Democratic fundraising email to the Democratic congressional committees and so forth sounds the alarm that Trump and his supporters are coming, blah, 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 blah. It's like, how come you don't say that to the media? It's truly hysterical, the jealousy. And I understand that Trump threw out hats, Save America. Looks like we know what the 2024 message will be, Save America. Not bad. I say yes, let's try to save America. Today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I am going to be posting the entire content of I Have a Dream speech. And I encourage everyone to read it. I say the three greatest speeches in American history. Number one, Abraham Lincoln Gettysburg Address. Number two, Patrick Henry's speech against the Stamp Act. Number three, Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. This is incredible prose and delivered in Washington, D.C. And I love to throw at the American Communist 10 the words of Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream. And that dream was, he hoped his children and their children would be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. The American Communist 10 does not do that. Black Lives Matter does not do that. These organizations don't do that. Whether you are black, white, Hispanic, a woman, gay, whatever, you should be judged as Martin Luther King Jr.'s dreamed, content of your character, not the color of your skin. It's the way I judge people. Chances are that's the way you judge people. But they're in the American Communist 10 want to say to you and me, no, 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 no. If you're white, you're bad. If you're black, you're good. It's nuts. And you know, it is so fun. They don't have a response to that. Just think about it, folks. We can use the greatest civil rights leader of all time's words against them, and they never have an answer for it, ever. The Bengals. You know, I went to the game. I don't go to many games, and when I go, I purchase seats that are really good. We sat on the 30-yard line on the Bengals side of the field, second row. It was awesome. Cold, but awesome. My wife is a bigger Bengals fan than I am, but we're both Cowboy fans. And by the way, folks, you're allowed to be a fan of more than two teams. Since I was a little boy, I was a Bengals fan and a Cowboys fan. Of course, in the 1990s, when the Cowboys were winning the Super Bowl, I was more of a Dallas fan. And there's nothing wrong with being a bandwagon fan. These are professional sports teams. Are we supposed to support the Bengals during the Shula and Consulate years? Are we supposed to be Bengals fan when Marvin Lewis and Andy Dalton would have our hopes up and then dash them every single time in the first round of the playoffs? No. I want to tell you something. Joe Burrow is a different kind of person. I saw a quarterback. I saw Joe Burrow beat Alabama and Tua at Alabama their championship season. And I'll never forget, I went down there with my son-in-law, Chad, and we were like, this guy is the real deal. Running, toughness, throwing, battling. And he's the real deal. He's a winner. And you know what? I think it makes a big difference that they drew the Tennessee Titans. I would rather go there than Buffalo. So I think that this will be a good thing. Tennessee might be number one, but I think the Bengals have a chance there. And speaking of the NFL playoffs, a lot of wipeout games. And we all know, and I always own it. When my Cowboys lose, I own it. Mike McCarthy needs to go. To have all those penalties is awful. Some of them shouldn't have been called, but it doesn't make any difference. They laid an egg, had no excuses. They were healthy. Dak laid an egg. It's awful. His interception was the difference in the game. That interception doesn't happen, Dallas wins by a point. It was a terrible throw. Twitter. You know, how anybody, again, of the American Communist 10 can sit back and act like this isn't a big deal. The Iranians, the supreme leader, the Ayatollah, posted on Twitter a video from a drone of Trump on the golf course showing that they could have taken him out. Now, only until days after that does the supreme leader of the Iranian government, does this Twitter feed get canceled. Think about that. That guy was not banned from Twitter all this time that President Trump was banned. That's how messed up our country is with the American Communist 10. Speaking of the American Communist 10, it comes out that good old Fauci has lots of investments in Chinese companies. I can't wait for Schweitzer's book. Cannot wait for it. Cannot wait for it. Sinema and Manchin are told by Maxine Waters. She says Sinema and Manchin, they don't care about black people. Don't you love these people that play the black card no matter what? It's just unbelievable. They don't care about black people. The constant use of race by the American Communist 10 is disgusting. Meanwhile, Jim Carville, the architect of the Bill Clinton win, says Democratic Party bunch of whiny. Got to stop whining. There's a whiny party. The Raging Cajun. It's so fun to listen to him talk. Whiny party. Chief of Staff Klain actually tweeted Biden's terrible poll ranking. What's he thinking? By the way, I don't want anybody in Bulldog Media to bring attention to something really, really bad. You know? Come on. Although there's nothing really bad I got to worry about. Voters are upset with Biden because all he cares about are issues that they don't care about. Think about it. Climate change, all the race bullshit. They're like, we don't care about this stuff. It's unbelievable. What else we got here? Salt Lake City Tribune says they want the National Guard in Utah to make sure anybody who's unvaccinated doesn't leave. As somebody who's unvaccinated, I feel better and better about that decision every day. And unfortunately for many of you, I'm fortunate that I don't work for somebody that mandated it. I didn't have to choose between my job and getting vaxxed. Unfortunately, I know many of you did. Speaking of the Communist 10, red-handed by Schweitzer, 1,093 footnotes, endnotes. They put them at the end of the book. There isn't one unreferenced source in this book. Oh, I can't wait to read this book. It lays it all out there. YouTube had to admit, and they cited some other people, that the masks don't work. It's like YouTube now admits masks don't work. Yet, guess why they banned Rand Paul? Because Rand Paul said masks don't work. Rand Paul made a joke about he demands an apology. You know, Mitt Romney comes out. Oh, I hate these people, Romney and company. Romney comes out and says, you know, Joe Biden was just about doing anything that was anti-Trump. You know what? Trump sat down with an interview with Glenn Beck, which, man, I listened to Glenn Beck's disparagement of Trump. Somebody told me Beck's apologized for it. But Glenn Beck, Mitt Romney, Ann Coulter, Nikki Haley after January 6th, all the Rob Portman, Kissinger, all the Republican congressmen and senators. And guess who played footsie with this infrastructure with Biden? Mitt Romney and the gang. John McCain, Cindy McCain, all of these people, George Bush. I can go on and on and on. It's sickening. These big named Republicans who were all anti-Trump, who aided and abetted Biden becoming president. I'm not going to ever forget it. Ever. Texas Synagogue. Texas Synagogue is attacked by some Muslims, and they take some hostages, since been released. And the FBI, your FBI, says this had nothing to do with religious or terrorism or anything like that. Unbelievable. I have some rest in peace. First, my father-in-law service today is from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock at the Swindler Funeral Home, right next to the law office. Also, Joe B. Hall, the University of Kentucky coach that followed Adolph Rupp, died over the weekend. And I want to tell you something. Joe B. Hall had that great team that won the 1978 national championship. But I will never forgive him losing when he had all that talent and he lost to Georgetown. It's like they couldn't score in the second half. They should have put in Troy McKinley and Paul Andrews and let them try to shoot the ball. Oh, it was awful. I never forgave him for that. Also, a special rest in peace for Rich Walburg. I owe a lot to Rich Walburg. Rich Walburg was Willie's producer when I began calling in Willie's show during the jail battle. And then when Daryl Parks gave me an opportunity to back up Willie and fill in for other hosts, Rich Walburg became my producer. And one of the best compliments I ever got was this. As the story goes, a producer contacted Rich Walburg and said, "Hey, Rich, Deters is coming on. Do we know what he's going to talk about?" And Walburg says, "It doesn't matter. It's always good." Thank you, Rich Walburg. And Rich Walburg always was kind to me, looked out for me, was supportive. He also is the one that helped promote me as the Bulldog. The Enquirer did a story calling me the courtroom Bulldog. Rich Walburg is the one that immediately started using the Bulldog for me for 700 WLW radio. Rich Walburg created the Bulldog. And he recently passed away. I think he's younger than I am. He recently passed away from leukemia. Very sad. But Rich Walburg, unlike me, was one of those guys that had no enemies. He also is the one. This is coming out of Rich Walburg, you WLW fans. Rich Walburg is the one who told me that the reason why WLW let me go had nothing to do with what appeared to be the reason. He told me, he said, "Eric, the powers to be around here were getting a little nervous of how popular you were becoming." And what it was it was creating friction. Rich Walburg is the one that told me that. He says they were looking for an excuse. I said, thank you, Rich, for the inside information. Last but not least, I got to make fun of the Cincinnati mayor. Good old F-Tab Pureval. He said it was okay if you went to the game and you were fully vaccinated and boosted and wore a mask. Like these politicians. Guess what, folks? I was at that game, 66,000, record crowd. I think I saw 10 people with masks. I mean, it was, now just think about that. We could all go root for the Bengals, non-vaxxed, no masked. I mean, and you're sitting in those seats like right next to each other. But by golly, you have to be vaccinated or wear a mask to work anywhere in this town. I got some add-ons. I missed this last week. The United States offers $308 million in aid for the Afghans. Do you freaking believe it? Like, do you think any of that money is going to go to these people? Hell no. I am going to blow up good old Governor Beshear. This is a typical political answer. Rising value of vehicles could lead to hefty tax increase in Kentucky. This administration has not increased vehicle tax rates. That's not what is happening. What is happening is your car is worth more. What a bunch of crap. Who has the power? Who has the power? His finance department went out and said, hey, we got to find out what the value. They didn't have to do that. They didn't have to do that. Governor Beshear is just trying to act like, oh, the value of your vehicle went up. And why is the value of the vehicle up? Because of inflation, thanks to his buddy, Joe Biden. Don't ever forget this. Governor Beshear is a Bidenite. And when I run against him in the general election, everybody will be reminded of that every single day. I got to bring this up about the Enquirer. This was on Thursday. Senator Paul's false accusations led to death threats, Dr. Fauci says. In other words, rather than point out that Fauci's a lying SOB, they make that the headline. That's the headline that they use. It's so freaking wrong. The United States says that Russia is prepping a false flag operation. Well, that means they act like they were shot at by the Ukrainians as an excuse to go fight. Oldest trick in the book. Say it. Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury and Bulldog Nation, may all of you have a wonderful Monday. By the way, Madison Pike, the road is clear and wet, not icy. And don't let these freaking weather terrorists on all these stations cause you to not live your life today. It's all okay. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Have a great Monday.